Hi guys, Buildzoid here, and this is going to be a pretty random RAM overclocking video because basically, as you know, like if you've been on the channel for long enough, you should be able to recognize that this is an X570i Strix, and it's not quite the normal Strix because obviously the one I have, I decided that it didn't have enough voltage range. Normally this board goes only up to 1.8 volts, as you can clearly see here. Right now this is at 2 volts, and it also doesn't go above this, unfortunately, because I did not, like, it's supposed to go up to 2.2. For now it goes up to 2. It will go up to 2.2 in the future. So basically I wanted to do a video just showing why I wanted the extra voltage range, and I just kind of randomly decided that instead of doing the usual B-die thing, like, it's just like, I like overclocking for the sake of overclocking. I like overclocking different things, and overclocking the same memory chip over and over and over again gets very old very fast. So I wanted to play with some memory that I think is pretty cool, even if it's not that fast, that's in my collection, and that's these sticks. So this is Guile 4000 CL19 Dragon RAM. I'm not sure if it's actually White Dragon or just Dragon. Well, either way, the PCBs look really sick. I don't think they use this PCB design anymore on any of their, like, current DDR4 kits, which I think is pretty lame because, yeah, this looks real. These are just really cool PCBs right here. Yeah, I have 3 of these sticks. They're all 4 gigabit Samsung E-die. So they're pretty old. They're like X9, like these were relevant for benching around the X99 to like Z170 era. B-die very quickly B-die came out around Z170, Z270, and it just completely obliterates E-die. Because the problem with E-die, so E-die scales to very high voltages, it can clock relatively high, up to 4600 megahertz is really no problem, even past that is very doable. But the main issue with it is, TRCD. That right there, and TRP is really, really weak. It also needs ridiculous amounts of voltage. Right, like this right now this is a 2-volt overclock. One of several that I've set up. So I did I did a CL12, I did a CL11, and I did a CL10. And it was just kind of like a fun challenge of like I've never intentionally clocked these on a Ryzen with specific like cast latency targets. So it was like the challenge was basically best performance at C10, best performance CL11, best performance CL12. So that was kind of the goal, like, just kind of things I do because, well, partially for a video, but also, like, I just, like, ultimately is not that really relevant to anybody. It's an old memory chip. It's not even that fast, but it's a memory kit that I have, and I get sad that I don't use it more, because one of the cool things with E-die compared to B-die, at least, is that, so if you're going to run B-die at very high voltages, you can't have all of your memory accessible, because it gets really unstable. This, on the other hand, yeah, we have all 8 gigs. Like, these are 4 gig sticks, single rank, obviously, as you could see, there was memory chips only one side, which is not always the best way of telling that it's a single rank, but generally, if there's only chips on one side, it's almost certainly single rank. But anyway, so if we were on B-die at 2 volts, I'd probably be, like, I'd have 2.5 gigs, or, like, maybe 3 gigs of memory available, because B-die just gets really unstable if you give it this much voltage and still allow Windows to use all of the available memory. With this stuff, it doesn't care. You can run 2 volts into it, and it just doesn't care at all. The main downside, though, is it is significantly slower. So this is the CL12 setup, right? And this is at 3800, so 12, 19, 19, 26. Not necessarily, it's about as tight as it goes. Like, I don't think it'll get, like, it would get any tighter. But yeah, you can see the latency over here is not exactly spectacular. That is 64.4 nanoseconds, which, like, if you're on, well, admittedly, I'm also at 4.1 gigahertz. Unfortunately, the IDA, well, really any memory benchmark, like, ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're benchmarking memory, like, the data from the memory has to go somewhere, okay? So if you have a really slow CPU, your memory performance is going to be also really low, mostly because your CPU is just really slow to work through the RAM. So if you had, like, if I dropped the CPU clock to, like, a gigahertz, the latency would get even worse. And if I clock this CPU up to, like, 4.4, which it doesn't do, then the latency would be better. But this chip is junk, and you know, I'm at like 1.4. There is quite a bit of V-droop on that, but still, it's a terrible 3700X, which is kind of why I used it for this, because I'm still very much babying the 3950X, like way too much probably. And I just kind of decided, yeah, if I'm gonna do something dumb, then let's use this chip. Anyway. So, yeah, it's just 4.1 gigahertz, so that's not helping the latency situation. Like, that could definitely go down if I had a higher CPU overclock. Yeah, it's 1900 FCLK, like 64.4 nanoseconds, like you can do that at, well, I'm pretty sure it's doable at like 1.5 volts on B-die. So that's kind of the reason why you don't see people, like, why you don't see Samsung E-die used for like benchmarking anymore, because B-die at lower voltage is literally just faster, which is kind of, you know, kind of funny. Um, Actually, it's not really that surprising either. Like, B-die is just generally faster than everything. It's just that, you know, in some cases, like, this needs 2 volts to even approach B-die level performance. Um, anyway, yeah, so I just kind of wanted to run it like this. And so this is the 3800 setup. And I'll just go... I'll just restart. Actually, I'll show off the various benchmarks that I've run on this. Because this isn't completely unstable. Like, it actually runs Geekbench 3, and that was my criteria for all of these overclocks. I don't think it would pass multiple, like, a Mem Test. Like, actually, we can run Mem Test. I have Mem Test on this, yeah. So we can totally run a bit of Mem Test. But yeah, this is not going to be stable whatsoever. But it will pass Geekbench, which Geekbench... if you're going to be doing, like, if you want to have fun doing memory overclocking, I would strongly recommend Geekbench 3 because, one, it actually has, like, the memory score in it is pretty synthetic. As far as I can tell, it's basically the same thing as just running the IDA benchmark, except not quite as bad. Mostly because, like, for Geekbench, you actually need to be somewhat stable. The Dijkstra test, which just finished, that will crash a lot of things that will finish IDA. Mostly because, like, well, it just does that. So, and I think it's a combination, because the Dijkstra test, as far as I know, gets pretty heavy on the CPU, and it uses a lot of data, so it's actually, like, pretty intense. Whereas something like IDA, there's, like, a lot of other benchmarks which you can pass at settings that won't finish Dijkstra. Cinebench is another one where, like, Cinebench doesn't care about RAM, basically, at all. So, you know, if you want to show off an unstable, really unstable memory overclock, you show it off in Cinebench, because Cinebench is going to finish, whereas a lot of other things won't. Yeah, so this is Geekbench stable. This is not, you know, like, it's not super fast. We'll see. Like, I'm going to probably do, like, if people find this video interesting, I want to do, like, B-die and E-die, and, I mean, Micron Rev E. We're doing E-die right now, but Micron Rev E, just go through a bunch of ICs that actually go up to high voltages and just do more of this, where it's just like really low really low cast timings and well, really low cast latency combined with just kind of silly voltages, just to see where it'll go. So yeah, you know, 8326, so that's not that great. Let's run Mem Test, because I've actually not run Mem Test on it, and I wonder how quickly it'll start spitting out errors. Yeah, sure, start testing. Is it even gonna manage to do that? Oh, yeah, sure. Is that it? How much memory do we have available? Like, the funny thing is, I've actually had a overclock in the past on this cause a memory leak, where eventually it would just stop, like, Windows would lock up because there was no more memory left for anything, which is a new thing. Like, I've not seen that before. So, okay, that's... Oh, it literally is just 2 instances of 4 gigs each, almost. Yeah, so as you can clearly see, it's not very stable. It's not supposed to be very stable. It's just, like, it'll finish benchmarks. That's all it's really for. That's, like, as soon as you're going over, like, 1.6 volts, you kind of give up on stability. And honestly, with some CPUs and some memory kits, even 1.6 volts, you can give up on stability. So anyway, let's restart this. Get the multimeter back on. Oh, and now it's so like, yeah, this is a thing that happens. Sometimes it breaks so much it doesn't want to restart. Which is pretty great. The board's actually really nice for memory overclocking. Like the ITX Strix. As in, it recovers easy. I'm not as in, like, it does the best overclocks. I've not checked that yet, but... or more like, I don't really have, like, a well-organized list of which board goes up to what settings. And also, different BIOS versions always change that, so it's just like, yeah. You know. Like, I do a lot of this more for fun than for actual documentation purposes, so... Anyway, yeah, so as you can see, the board thinks we're at 1.8 volts, but because of the volt mod, we're very much not at 1.8 volts. We're at 2 volts here. And then CCD, so interesting thing, and like, I'm happy that I actually confirmed it. Higher CCD voltages would make the GPU not initialize. IO die voltage actually help, like that one helps with Infinity Fabric and memory overclock stability, but this one makes your GPU not work if you raise it too high. So that's why it's at 1 volt while the IO die VDDG is at 1.12. Lots of SoC voltage just because I didn't really feel like like with Ryzen 3000, like on say 2000 and 1000, if you raise the SoC voltage too high, at some point you start losing memory stability. This is not anywhere near that yet. So yeah, this is not like, essentially, like if I was dailying this, I wouldn't be running 1.22 volts SoC, but for the purposes of this, I don't really care. 1.4 volts for the CPU, because the CPU sucks and I hate it. So the sooner it kicks the bucket, the better. Anyway, here's the VRM settings. So I have a lot of droop on the CPU just because, you know, it actually doesn't droop that much. I think on Cinebench it loses 40 millivolts, which is like, that's actually very little. Anyway, everything VRM-wise here is maxed out. There's no memory VRM settings down here. And anyway, let's just go through the various timings. So, 12, 19, 8. So, lots and lots of ICs, except like, well, actually, I think Hynix ICs are like the only ones that don't do really low TRCD WR. Whereas everything else, you can just set it to 8. Like Micron and Samsung, you can always set it to 8 in my experience. There might be some exceptions to that, but I've not run into those yet. What is that? TRP 19. So interestingly enough, I always thought EDI, because in the past I've only ever tested EDI on like Z270, Z370, that kind of thing. And normally there you go for something like 4012, 2020 or something like that. So I always thought that the limiter on EDI was the TRCD, was the TRCD timing, but it turns out it's actually not. As you'll see with the CL11 and the CL10 profiles, those actually run lower TRCD RD than TRP, and it is actually a stability thing. So that's really interesting to me. So on Intel mainstream platforms, TRCD and TRP have to be the same timing, but on AMD you can set them independently. So yeah, that was just kind of a really cool, like, this is why I like doing, like, having a wide variety of memory chips to play with, because they're just different. Like, if you keep benching BDI, right, like, the variance is going to be, like, what frequency does it do what timings at? That's basically the range of variance in BDI, but you're going to use, like, the same subtimings, you're going to use like, most of the settings are going to be the same, unless you have some weird compatibility issue with your motherboard. But yeah, like, if you have a completely different IC, there's actual, like, timing differences. So, interestingly enough, TRCD, like, not at this setting. Like, I tried 18, and it'll post, but it won't make it into Windows, so it's not quite stable enough. But, yeah, so that's kind of interesting. RAS 26, TRC. So, TRC actually has a pretty, like, major stability. Like, that's a big factor for stability. If I set the TRC too low on this, it actually is a problem. So this is minimized. These are basically as low as they go. TFAW 16. These two don't go that low. So on BDI at 2 volts, I'd be expecting to be like a 2.6 or something for these two, or even 1.6. I think I've run a couple times. Yeah, for this stuff at 2 volts, 5.9 at 3800, 4.8 at 3600, and I think 3.8 at 3333. So that's yeah, WTRs on this don't actually go that low, which again, just I've never noticed that. I had no idea. TWR, I could probably run that lower, but it doesn't really change the performance much, so I just set it sort of to 12. So I just leave it at 12. SCLs 4.4, those might go lower, but I've not like yeah, I've not checked. Then TRFC, we're looking at 2.75. And then these are all auto because you don't actually need to set those. TCWL, this gets set by the motherboard to the same setting as TCL. And so with BDI, you can often set TCWL 1 or 2 ticks below TCL. With this stuff, that doesn't seem to work. If I set the TCWL any lower, it won't post. So that's always fun. RTP, I've also tried lowering that. That also doesn't scale. Like, that also doesn't go lower as far as I can tell. So, yeah. Interesting memory chip. Then all the tertiary timings you can just go to 1. Admittedly, most of them don't actually do anything. Like, all the SD, well, SD is same DIM, but DD is different DIM. So I don't think those actually affect it. Like, the DD timings don't affect performance. Anyway, actually, I think it's same channel... same channel. Wait. Same channel, same DIM, different DIM. I'm now confused. Why are they in that order? Oh, whatever. Yeah, but those, like, you literally can't set any of those lower, because... Actually, can you? No, you can't. They go to 1. So, yeah, proc ODTs on auto. The motherboard does a good job of that on its own. Command rate 1T. Gear down mode enabled for this. For some of the other, like CL11, obviously I had gear down mode disabled. But if I disable it at 3800 CL12, this doesn't, like, it's much less stable. So I didn't really want to fight it that much. So yeah, that's the actual timings. And I guess I'm just going to power, well... I'll just crash the board on purpose. So I'll just, like, so I have a switch. So the way the voltage is, so there's a video actually showing how all the mods on the board are implemented, like what the mods look like. So there's a switch down here. And if we put, like, so I'm just going to scroll through the BIOS, right? And, wait, it's not locking up? Really? Are you kidding me? It's supposed to crash if you do that. I wonder if it's just like training voltage restrictions. Like, it really shouldn't be able to train. Are you kidding me? Wait, we're going to load up one of the more aggressive profiles then. Load profile 3 then. No, 3's the starter, so actually I want 4. Nope. 4. No. So that's a 3600 CL11 profile. That should not be able to post on 1.8 volts. Yeah, see? That's not able to post. I guess it's also a combination of gear down mode being enabled on the... Yeah, that's not going to post. Like, the C12 profile is also GD, like, has gear down mode enabled. But I didn't think that one would work at 1.8 volts. So, bump that back up. And so now it's at 2 volts, right? And yeah, see, now it's training. So yellow LED is memory training, red LED is CPU, white LED is GPU, green LED means it's up and running. Unfortunately, it looks like we actually triggered the sort of safety mechanism. So now it's going to throw us into the BIOS. So even, like, this is the thing with the mod, is it's a permanent 20% voltage offset, essentially. So at 1.2 volts, we're getting 1.4, yeah, basically 1.42. So now, like, the board still remembers our settings. So I'll actually go through this profile, because this one's the really aggressive one. This is the one I spent the most time on, along with the 3333 profile. The 3800 was just kind of like that one. Well, that one was really annoying to get into Windows, but I never noticed that it didn't need as much voltage. So anyway, so that's 11, 8, 19, 24, right? 4, 8 instead of 5, 9, 12. Slightly lower TRFC because it's at lower frequency. I could have probably set the TRFC lower than that. And then 1T and gear down mode disabled. So we're just going to hit F10. Now we're back up at 2 volts. and it'll actually train. I want to actually crash the system, though. Yeah. So now it'll go all the way to Windows. I'll actually show you the previous scores. We're not gonna like run everything. Well, I'll run Geekbench just to show that this is stable. I'll go through the other scores, and then I'll crash it by changing the voltage. So, let's pull this open. So I already have more mods planned for the board. Like, definitely it needs more voltage range. It needs to be able to go up to 2.2 volts instead of just 2. I'm also considering maybe some more maybe tweaking the capacitor configuration of the memory somewhat because well, I have a... Oh, actually, that's a great opportunity. Where did I put that? I'll go find it. Right, so what I got is... oops. What I have is... So this is also a Samsung eDie stick, 4 gigs, right? But this is like a generic Samsung one. This is really cheap. It's not rare. It's not special. It's this is a A1 PCB layout, so you can see the missing memory chip right there. That's an ECC memory memory layout. So yeah, but this is a non-ECC stick, so the ECC chip is missing. Anyway, so this actually can hook up to an oscilloscope or a multimeter, yeah, so I can hook this up to the oscilloscope and actually check the transient response on a memory stick. And I've noticed some differences between this board and some other boards, so I'm wondering if it's not possible to also try improve the voltage regulation, and if that won't improve the memory overclocking a little bit more. So yeah, Geekbench just finished, and I guess we'll just go through the different overclocks that I've done with this. Those are going to be all down here. So this is the 3800, right, which 64.4 nanoseconds latency. Oh, this is the also 3800, so there you can see the 8335 Geekbench. Then here we have the... Oh, so this is the CL10 setup. So this is 3333, I think, at CL10. And yeah, you can see 1666. I have the Infinity Fabric desynced, and so the latency is terrible, but the bandwidth is actually pretty okay. And the Geekbench score... Yeah, and the Geekbench score is actually not that bad. Like, it's still 7,667. But, yeah, even at 3333, the TRCD needs to be really loose. And then down here we have, what is it? This is the 3600 CL11. Yeah, so that runs 66.1 nanoseconds of latency. So you can see how actually, like, looser, like all of the timing's getting slightly looser, but having 200 megahertz more frequency just lowers the latency overall anyway. Like this is 3600 CL11 loses to 3800 CL12. So yeah, on latency and just basically everything. But the Geekbench difference is not that big. It gets around 8100. So anyway, I'll just close that. And I guess now we shall crash the system. So 2 volts. Now we're going to go to 1.8. And blue screen. Yep, see, that's very effective. So I'll just put the voltage back up so when we restart, it'll actually restart. And like, get us into the BIOS. And it works again. And why is it going into oh no. Okay. It looked like it wanted to go into Windows, but yeah. So that's kind of like basically that's why I wanted extra voltage range on this board. Is like because the thing is it's an ITX board, and my main interest in the ITX motherboards is they're generally pretty great at memory overclocking, just because they don't have to deal with the difficulties of having 4 DIMM slots instead of just 2. And so, yeah, when I got this board, the biggest problem I noticed was that the voltage literally only goes up to 1.8 volts. And, well, you know, it's in my opinion pretty easy to just hard mod the voltage. So that's what I did, where now it goes up to 2 volts, and so I can do silly things like 3600 CL11. Though this, right, like EDI is just generally not that impressive in terms of the timings. So I also will be doing some BDI settings on this once I fix up the voltage range, and also check if I can, like, I'll improve the capacitor configuration, and then we'll do some BDI and micron EDI. I mean micron rev E. Honestly, it doesn't matter at this point. I give up. You get the idea. So like I'll be trying some of the crucial kits on this board as well at high voltage, and I also want to see if I can get this board to do 5 gigahertz memory clock. So I'll definitely be running some other kits on it. But yeah, just sort of for fun and for practice, I ran some of this stuff. And anyway, let's pull up the CL10 profile, which is in 5. And so the CL10 profile is actually like, the frequency's really low on the memory. Oh, actually, this is 3400. It's not supposed to be 3400. It's not stable at that. Looks like I didn't save the profile properly. But yeah, so here you can see like 10, 17, 18, 23. And this is for, like, the timings are for 33, 33. The frequency, I must have just left that there. Like, that seems to me just me being lazy with saving things properly. But yeah, and then everything else is basically the same. Still gear down mode off. So I'll load up the 4. Yep. And because the thing is, like, this one is 11, 18, 19. And if I actually change that 19 to 18, it doesn't post. So, or actually, no, it does post, but it won't make it into Windows. So that was really surprising to me, because I always figured, like, with most memory chips, TRCD is the problem. Or at least historically, it's always been like TRCD is the problem. Where, like, on DDR3, you'd see timing combinations like 9, 12, 11, or 9, 12, 12, or 10, 12, 12, or 11, 13, 13, or 11. And then if you overclocked it, you could probably do something like 11, 13, 10, or 11, or no, actually 11, 13, 10 isn't impossible. Like, there are some chips that'll do that. So there's like TRCD generally tends to be like the biggest problem with most memory chips, and BDI for DDR4 especially is a massive anomaly in that it doesn't need to go, that it can run such low TRCDs, whereas this is, you know, Samsung 4 gigabit EDI. This behaves much more normally compared to BDI. Anyway, so yeah, I just kind of wanted to show, like, why I wanted the mods on there, and they're still not done. Like, obviously, like, the thing is, I think if I had 2.2 volts available on the board, I could probably run 3800 at CL11. Yeah, it doesn't. So I can't do that, because initially I was aiming for like 3733 or 366611, and 366611 was just about, actually, wait, what is this profile? Is it 3666 or, damn it. No, this is 3600. Yeah. So originally I was aiming for like 373311 or 366611. And 366011 would just, like, that was just about workable, except for like, it wasn't stable enough. So that definitely indicates that, yeah, if I gave it, you know, maybe 50, 100 millivolts more, that would have probably started working. Also, I guess, word of warning, don't shove 2 volts into your memory unless you're, like, this is, like, as far as I know, this stuff, like, EDI here, doesn't die at high voltages whatsoever. But yeah, I wouldn't just take any random memory stick. Well, here's the thing. Like, I actually would take any random memory stick and shove 2 volts into it, because I'm kind of prepared for the consequence. Like, I don't have a shortage of memory, right? If I kill 1 memory stick or 2, it's not really that big a deal for me. Yeah, I would not do this with, like, if you have 1 kit of RAM and you like using it, then don't do this kind of thing to it. So yeah, anyway, that's kind of it for the video. And oh my god, it's 30 minutes. Well, that's not really that surprising. So yeah, and the plan is in the future you'll be, like, I do want to do more with this board, because the whole reason I have this board is because I was like, ooh, I wonder how good a 2-dimmer X570i ASUS board can be for memory overclocking, and then I found out it doesn't go over 1.8 volts, and that was a massive disappointment. So, yeah, multimeter turned off. So yeah, this video is just kind of like I consider it like, you could basically consider it like a pilot episode. And the next time you see, like, I do want to do more with this board. Obviously, I'm also super busy with like Z490 stuff and everything, but yeah, like I just like, oh, like, this is fun in my opinion. So anyway, that's it for the video. Thanks to the patrons for the CPU and the memory sticks, and actually like basically the entire system here. Actually, not even basically the entire system. Literally the entire system, including the multimeter. Thank you, patrons, so much for, you know, supporting what I do here with the channel. The same goes for everybody who's bought, you know, stuff on Teespring or the Twitch subscribers, that kind of, like, you get it. So there's links to all of that actually down in the description below, like the Twitch, the Teespring, the Patreon. Teespring is shirts, stickers, posters, you know, merch, that kind of thing. Yeah, if you'd like to support the channel, you can do that through there. Some of that funding will go into getting a fourth stick of this stuff. I'm still looking for one. If I find another, like, I was really sad when I found this single stick in a store, secondhand, because I really wanted a set of, like, I want to have a set of 4 of these so I can run them on X99. Because on X99, well, like, B-Die is faster on X9. B-Die is just always faster on everything. But the problem with B-Die is on X99, you sometimes have major, like you need a special BIOS for B-Die compatibility. So E-Die is nice when you know, have a board and you're not sure, like, does this have the B-Die update? Because if it doesn't, it's not even going to post, like, which is really, really annoying. Anyway, yeah, so that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, leave any comments, questions, suggestions down in the comment section below. And yeah, hopefully this was interesting, because I kind of had fun doing this, but as far as a video goes, I don't know, it seems kind of irrelevant. But yeah, so goodbye.